All right, so I promised you we would also do this fan wiring install. Again, as far as the fans go themselves, they go right on. Some of these trucks, not the HDs, but some of these trucks in half-ton version and like the Escalade, stuff like that, came with a factory fan anyway. So these literally, you unbolt, pull your fan off, unbolt your fan shroud. These go right on in place. You will need these bigger bolts. But other than that, Nelson Performance sells this fan, a wiring relay kit. Directions also. It's fairly easy. It's got the factory plugs. These will plug right into the factory fans here. And on my truck, I mounted these relays right to this cover. This cover, we have to pull this off anyway. We got to run some grounds and hot wires, and then we also have to put 2 pins into the ECM, PCM, whatever you want to call it, connector, and it tells you detailed directions on which spots to put them right there. So let's get into it. We'll get this plugged into the fans, get this laid out, we'll get our grounds run, and we'll go ahead and unhook the battery again and get our cover off and go from there. So here's the factory plug, goes right in. You can hear it clip. They even have the safety on there. We can push up. We got both sides locked in. So now our fan wiring is complete. We'll move this around. This will come up through this spot. And like I said, on my truck, it has this exact same kit. I actually just took these and mounted them right to this plastic cover here. So you can use some self-tapping screws. Remove this, you don't want to drill into your computer, but that seems to be a really good spot to mount them. So without boring you with every single step, pretty much we have the battery unhooked. We already plugged this in. That's later in the directions, but it's fine to do now. We have to remove this plastic cover. Once we get that out of the way, just kind of twist and wiggles out here. We'll set that to the side. Again, that's what we're going to put our relays on, but there is your computer. So we'll take a screwdriver. Sometimes you can get these by hand. Nope. We'll take a screwdriver and pop that up, pop the computer out of its place and kind of spin it, and we're going to remove, I think it's a 7mm. We'll remove this connector here. So once you got that metal tab up, it's got a little safety here, plastic. You pull that and the computer will push right out of its place here, and you can pull it up so you can work on it. All right, 7mm. We're going to remove both these connectors from the PCM. They're not super tight. You don't need to go back super tight. All right, so this is a little bit tricky. We're removing this blue connector. We'll set that up there for now. If we grab this, you can see these terminals are numbered on the back side, I think. Yes, so if you can hopefully make out those numbers, each one of these little bumps here is a number by the wire. So we're looking, we have to push a terminal end. Let me grab it here. It's in the harness. There's a blue and a green wire. The blue is going to go into the blue connector. Green's going to go in the blue connector. Or yeah, blue in the blue, green in the green. It does tell you what pin to go into. So the blue connector, blue wire goes in the blue connector, pin 42. Green wire, green connector, pin 33. And then once we have that, we'll reassemble this whole system here, and then we can start, we can actually put the covers back on and bolt it to the computer, put the computer back in, and that part of the wiring is done. Only thing we have left to do is, well, we'll get there and show you. One thing that will save you a little bit of time, the directions tell you to pull both of these green, both of the blue off. You don't have to. So look on the back side here, look at your number, and only pull the cover off that corresponds with your number. So you only have to pull one green, one blue off. Now we have our covers all put back on. Now, like I said, we can drop our computer back in. two 7mm bolts. Tighten this back up. Don't over tighten them. We'll snap it back in its bracket and get the relays mounted on this plastic cover also. And then all we have is our ground wires and our hot wire, which goes right here. Once all that's bolted back up, I know I keep backtracking here and telling you how to do more, but this is popped in, and you just push this safety metal tab down on. Now we are completely done with that section. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and get some self-tappers and drill through here. If Mike has self-tappers.
We have self-tappers.
All right. So we're going to mount these on there before we snap this back on, so we don't interfere, you know, with that computer. As you can see here, there's a recess back here with absolutely nothing there. So we'll get that done, and then our hot wire and ground wires, several of them are right here, right there. We pull this loom back a little bit, and you can see the black and the red, or actually it's black and blue wires. Two black, two blue. And it's very self-explanatory also because the terminal ends are different size. So these bigger ones will go on this large stud on the hot, and the small ones go to ground. And there we have our relays screwed to that box. Nice and easy. They actually do send along those screws with it. I just didn't see them. All right, guys, we got the hot cables connected to this, so we can actually shut this now. We'll get these routed back, and this will actually snap shut. There we go. That's nice looking. And one of these two bolts, we'll put one on either, so we'll actually unbolt this from this bracket here, put these ground cables right here behind the bracket, and the sandwich in between the bracket and the bracket. This big aluminum bracket and the black sheet metal bracket, we'll put the wires in between, put the bolts back in, and tighten them up. And that is it. We got our ground wires on, the door shut for the hot wires, and everything's nice. The only thing left we have to do is make sure everything's zip tied back out of the way and or clipped in place. Now you will have to have your computer activated to control these fans, but once that's done, it will control fans with AC operation and temperature operation. It's got two fans here. It'll control them separately, and it's high and low speed also. So it really works just like factory once it's hooked up.